Help, I'm pushing up, Rotate.
Bruno, they're rotating back. They're rotating back.
You're gonna go, just rotate, guys, just rotate. Give it up, just give it up. Right. Nice, rotate.
Greetings, gamers, and welcome to episode number 23 of The Rotation with Zhack. Let me tell you, today has been a wild day for me. I woke up early, helped Meg get to work, went on a run in the rain, and then I went to work, got home, cleaned the entire house, so it's just been wild for me, and there are more wild days to come, and that has to do with why we're recording an episode today. It is because Meg and I are taking a little trip for ourselves. We're winding down, getting some away time, and we are going to Vegas, baby. So it's sad. We're going to be missing a little bit of CDL content, but don't worry. That's why I'm getting this to you guys now, and we will be back and better than ever after a short little vacation, just in time to talk about the Stage 5 Major, champs, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to be sad to leave, but it's time, much needed, a little rest, relaxation, and alone time with Meg. But it's also sad because Murph is going to be missed. He's going to go hang out at my parents' place. He gets to hang out with his buddy Pax. That's my parents' dog. They're going to get to go swimming. It's going to be a great time for Murph. Meg and I are going to have fun in Vegas. But let me tell you, we're going to miss Murph a whole lot, okay? I love that guy. Love all you guys as well. So thanks so much, as always, for the support on YouTube here at Zhack16. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, comment, follow me on Twitter at Zhack16. But we have a jam-packed show to get into today. There's a lot that I want to get into. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. Before I go into my first blood take, something just popped into my mind here. We're going to Vegas. Call of Duty League matches will be happening. It'll be right on the verge of the Stage 5 Major. When are we going to get esports betting available in the States? I know stuff like Midnight has betting options online for esports with the Call of Duty League, League of Legends, Dota, you name it. But when can I start to gamble in Vegas and throw some actual money down on the Call of Duty League? When can I go there, throw down 100 racks and say, hey, Optic are hot right now, they're going to win the match today, and then get paid out gloriously for my Call of Duty expertise? Just a little thought. Vegas, DraftKings, FanDuel, you guys should probably get into it. Right now, DraftBuff is the best site for fantasy esports, plain and simple. They have daily fantasy, redraft leagues, all the fun stuff for Call of Duty, and I'm starting to do separate segments focusing on fantasy Call of Duty, so make sure you guys keep an eye out for those on the YouTube channel. Share them with your friends. Give me your insight and learn how to become a better fantasy COD player. So that's just a thought that popped into my mind. I'm going to Vegas. Why can't I bet on Call of Duty matches? I know everything. It's just unpredictability has been something and a key of the Call of Duty League this year. So I don't think I would actually be that great. There's a couple locks that you can make picks on, but nothing is guaranteed in the CDL. Absolutely not. That kind of transitions me into my first blood take, and I want to talk about something that's really important to pay attention to as we're putting in our pickums and deciding on fantasy players throughout the rest of the season here. Something that's really important to pay attention to is how teams are becoming fine-tuned and what state they are in competitively at this point in the season. What I mean by this is that it's the home stretch. Teams are finally starting to show their true colors, and this is where you want to focus on the class and the type of play that these organizations and players are giving you week in and week out. This is what matters more than the rest of the season to your pick'ems, to your fantasy roster, and to everything to decide with the Call of Duty League. I want to compare this to baseball. So in baseball, we know in the MLB, there's 162 games in the season. The Call of Duty League, it's a pretty extensive season as well. The most important thing is baseball is not what you do at the beginning, not what you do at the All-Star break, not even what you do 2/3 through the season. It's how you finish. If you can get yourself positioned to be in the playoffs and a baseball team gets hot late September, early October, they can make a run to win the World Series. It's the exact same thing for the Call of Duty League, and there's a few teams who I think are red hot right now and a few that are up and coming but maybe just not quite there yet. But the main one that we have to focus on is Optic. They have been absolutely disgusting for all of Stage 5 so far. They're undefeated. They clinched the 1 seed for the Stage 5 major, and I just think that nobody is stopping them. Nobody is even coming close to it. So there's certain teams who are showing consistency, certain teams who are on the rise, and then you have some teams who are slowing down and worrying me, quite frankly, for how they'll perform throughout the Stage 5 major and then when they make it to champs. I think obviously Optic, Chicago are the big ones to highlight because what they are doing and what they continue to do. They take down the Atlanta FaZe. That's the biggest matchup that anyone has. Up to that point, Atlanta FaZe have only lost 4 matches on the season. Let that sink in for a second. Take a break real quick and think that the Atlanta FaZe were somewhere like 33-4. That is insane. Optic Chicago put it together, and they found the little chink in the armor that the Atlanta FaZe have, and they beat them at the right time. It's so important for that team's confidence, and now, more importantly, they know that they can do it. Heading into the Stage 5 major, which isn't the biggest thing, but they still want to win it, of course, they know that the Atlanta FaZe are vulnerable, and they've done it to them once, they can do it to them again. I think it's more important when we fast forward a couple weeks into August and we see champs. They need to have that mindset and the memory that, oh my goodness, we've worked hard down the home stretch and we realize that the Atlanta FaZe are vulnerable, we can win champs. Every single team in the league should be thinking that. Well, let me slow down. Not every single team in the league. Because some teams, the bottom 4 who aren't even going to make it to champs, and some other of the bottom tier teams, plain and simple, I don't want to be mean to you guys, but you don't have a chance to take down the Atlanta FaZe. When we talk about those upper echelon teams who are showing consistency and showing talent at the right time right now, I think Atlanta FaZe are still at the top of the top despite losing to Optic. They'll be really good at making an adjustment, fixing their issues, and their track record, it's been proven. They've been consistent. I still think they're number 1. Up there on the same tier as them or just below it, like Atlanta FaZe are 1, and then the rest of these teams are 1A, like right behind them. So I think Optic Chicago, if I were doing power rankings, they would be in the number 2 spot. The improvements that they've made from the beginning of the year to Stage 4 to present, it's incredible. I think that they're starting to get hot at the right time. I'm fanboying for Optic. I think that Scump and Envoy are the second best sub duo in the entire league right now. The only one in front of them is the Atlanta FaZe with Simp and Abizi. They're getting hot at the right time. If Dashy and Formal can also complement that, if these teams find themselves against one another in the Stage 5 major and even champs, watch out, because Optic can make some noise regardless the matchup. It will be fireworks. So after you get the Atlanta FaZe, Optic Chicago, I think next up are the Dallas Empire. I really think they're hitting their stride. I think Crim's leadership is something to take into account. And the young guns, Shotzi, Illy, and then Vivid, who's been around for a long time, but he's finding a good, comfortable role in this team, and he's complimenting everybody around him. So I think they come next, and then rounding out those upper echelon top tier teams would be the Toronto Ultra. I think that we all know they beat FaZe in a major. They claimed themselves victorious. I think that they continue to be great, and they can make more noise in the Call of Duty League. But right now, for where they are, recent history, I have to show bias towards Optic and Empire over the Toronto Ultra, because Optic have beaten FaZe most recently, and then Empire beat the Toronto Ultra in the winner's bracket to make it to the finals of the Stage 4 major. Once we drop down from there, so that should be a fine. That should be a fine for me, first of all, for just snorting into the mic on you guys. I'm sorry. Got to clear my throat, get some water here. I'll pay up. After all that money I win in Vegas, I'll give you guys like $5 for whoever the top comment on this video. I'll give you $5 in your Venmo for my fine for just snorting into the microphone, being an unprofessional broadcaster, which I claim myself to be all the time. It was just Bush League. It was terrible. We're moving on. We're dropping down to the second tier of rankings for Call of Duty teams right now, and I think this is where you find the middlemen. I think the two that you can confidently put in this pack are the Minnesota Rocker and the Florida Mutineers. I really, with the tournaments coming up, I favor the Minnesota Rocker. Hear me out. Hear me out. I think that the Florida Mutineers may be the more talented team. They have a matchup coming up during the Seattle Surge home series against the Minnesota Rocker, and Florida very well could win this series. But I think when it comes to champs, Minnesota may have a little bit more of a backbone of experience just from a guy like Attach. I think he brings a lot to the roster. He can take Standy under his wing. Priesta has been in this situation before, and Major Maniac has been in the Call of Duty competitive scene, not necessarily pro COD, but the SND scene for a long time. He knows what he's doing. I think these guys can rub off on Standy and have him perform, and Standy has honestly proven himself already. On land, there were question marks around him. The kid popped off, okay? No questions there. But then you look on the flip side at the Florida Mutineers, just as good as a roster. Neptune is disgusting, on pace to be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Havoc is a guy that will get the job done and do the nitty-gritty work. Not necessarily in the KD kill department, but he'll run the routes, he'll make the smart plays, he'll play his life, he'll be kind of ratty, that guy that no one wants to fight against, and Neptune is like that as well. So those two complement each other as a sub-duo. Then it comes down to Sky's an Awakening. I think that if those two can perform, complement the sub-duo, this is a toss-up who I have in this next tier between Rocker and Mutineers. From here, I think there's a little bit of a fall-off. So you see the top 6 teams right there. Then the next 2 who we anticipate making it to the playoffs, it's the Subliners and the LA Thieves. I really think that both these teams are going through their struggles. We'll talk about the Subliners in a moment through the Barracks news and notes around the league. But I think these 2 teams, if I had to give the edge to anyone, it would probably be... Man, I don't even want to. But right now, the New York Subliners, just from their track record of the season and how the LA Thieves have had so many substitutes, they're trying to find the right roster. But at the same time, I want to give the edge to the LA Thieves because you have guys like Kenny, Slasher, and John. They're veterans. They've been there before. Draws is a stud. So I think if it came down to these two, just because the current state of NYSL, I think I favor the LA Thieves in that sort of matchup. That's how, if I was doing power rankings, things would shake down. It would go FaZe, Optic, Empire, Ultra, and then I would probably go Rocker, Mutineers, Thieves, Subliners. Everyone else, you're the bottom of the barrel. You're not making champs. Sucks to suck. I'm sorry to tell it to you, but that's what we're focused on in the league right now. To bring everything full circle on this First Blood take, I think me talking about those sort of power rankings just comes to show that teams are getting hot on the right time and shifting through the order. Because all season long, we've been talking FaZe, Subliners, Ultra as like the top 3 teams. Now you have Optic and Empire in the conversation, and the Subliners are one of the bottom 2 teams out of the top 8 in the league. So getting hot at the right time is absolutely important. I think Optic are the ones doing it best right now. Watch out for them to make some noise. Now let's move along and talk some Barracks news and notes from around the league. A couple of really big, dynamic breaking stories happened throughout the last week, and the biggest one comes from Clayster. He announced on Twitter that he was stepping back, taking time for his mental health, and this is a topic that I've talked about at least 3 or 4 times on separate episodes of The Rotation with Zhack this year, and if you guys haven't heard them, I'll give you the same take. I'll try and make it short, sweet, and to the point. But we need to start focusing on mental health. Like, if you haven't seen it, this is a prime example. Scump has talked about his mental health deteriorating throughout the season, along with many other pros, and now a prominent figure in the Call of Duty League, a veteran, a man who has won 3 championships, Clayster, has had to step back from competition. He's taking off the week of the Seattle Surge home series to give himself a break and let him relax and find his mental fortitude and get back on track. I'm glad he is doing it. My take on this all along has been it's so important, and I hope that he gets back for champs and he has a shot. Right now, DiamondCon is the one set to replace him, and he's been good. He was a stud at first. He fell off a little bit back and forth, a streaky performance, but nonetheless, as a rookie, DiamondCon has shown himself and proven himself throughout the CDL season. He started the series, or the season, with the Subliners, with the XM4 meta. I know that's a different time, different maybe OP gun, you guys may say, but he's performed, he's proven himself. Back to mental health and Clayster, though, I really hope that his spot doesn't get taken headed into champs. Because I know that NYSL have been struggling. They had yet to win a series, all of Stage 5. Then they break out. They find a win in their first match against Paris for the Seattle Surge home series. But I want to see Clay back. He's so important to this team, and when it comes to COD champs and a major tournament, you need to have a guy like that there. The in-game adjustments he can make, the plays he makes on top of that, he's so important. To talk about the topic of mental health separately, completely apart from Clayster, we need to be paying attention to it. Because I've talked about it time and time again, we don't give enough credit to people coming out and talking about their mental health, and maybe if they're going through depression and problems with their stability and their sanity. It's so important to recognize because there's such a negative stigma around mental health. Society has made it to the point where you're weak if you suffer from depression. Get over it. Be happy. You have a good life. You're a professional Call of Duty player. You're making millions of dollars plus a $100,000 contract plus sponsorships to play a video game. It's a lonely place, and we don't understand it. These guys sit in their room, scrimmaging, trying to grind the game and get better for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours every single day. With COVID, a social life had been taken away from these guys. All they have is this right here. They have this little corner of gaming. They have themselves, their monitor, their setup, their controller. And then maybe they eat with their teammates, or during match days, they hang out with their teammates. Other than that, they're isolated, man. It's a lonely spot, especially when you're not performing, your team's not doing well. Your mental health can deteriorate. Octane is another guy who has talked about it openly, and I think that's so important for prominent figures in the CDL to advocate for this. Scump, Octane, and now Clayster have all come out and said that their mental health has struggled this year. I think it's so important. I think that everyone who is so negative and such a bully about someone who suffers through mental health, do some research. Figure it out on yourself, because you don't believe it exists until it happens to you. And it's a very hard thing to go through. It's an extremely tough thing to deal with. So I hope Clay is okay. I hope we see him come back. If you want more talk on mental health, I'd be more than happy to chat with you guys, or you can go back to previous episodes. It's probably in the title or description. I've talked about it a multitude of times, so we're going to move on from there. Hope Clay comes back. Hope NYSL is okay in time for champs in the Stage 5 Major. The other big piece of news that broke this week happened with Slacked. So Florida officially let go, released his contract, however you want to spin it, whatever you want to call it. Then Slacked gets on stream, starts playing, and there's some sort of beef that's going on. I don't understand the full extent of it. I'd love to talk to Slacked about it, see all the details and everything that happened. But basically, he said a couple of things while he was streaming. Someone in his chat while he was playing asked him a question along the lines of, who's your favorite Florida teammate? And he was like, I don't really have one. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really mess with any of those guys. And then he said, they were fake to me. I didn't really like any of them. They were actually pretty damn weird and fake to me. I don't have a problem with any of those guys, but they did me kind of dirty. All I can imagine that meaning is that when they were going through the process of making roster changes, no one talked about Slacked through everything. He didn't really know he was necessarily getting replaced. They were talking behind his back, going out, Havoc comes on. And at the end of the day, though, the team has started to perform better. When Slacked was on the roster, whether he is the problem or not, whether this is just a new look, people got inspired, the team jumped in rankings and on the spectrum of talent, in my opinion. When Slacked was there, they were struggling. They weren't as a cohesive unit. Maybe he didn't complement Neptune as a sub role. Maybe that they were both, in the same role, trying to slay out, play their lives, play a little bit ratty. One of them didn't want to run the routes. I don't really know what the true problem was and what forced Slacked to get put to the bench, but this is a tough look. I know he's a veteran. He's won multiple times. He's a boots-on-the-ground hero, one of the best players in the league, and he will not have a problem finding a team for next year if he wants to. I think that people are already talking about rosters, how they want to form the relationships they have with previous pros. He's playing in challenger scenes right now, but the veterans, I feel like they're going to kind of work as a clique next year when forming rosters, but these young gunning amateurs, maybe they'll have more say at the end of the day. I think overall, it's a pretty weird situation to happen. I mean, as Zuma would say, there's a lot of fugazi going on out here in the Call of Duty League, man. I don't know what happened with Slacked. That was a pretty bad impersonation. I kind of want to take a second shot at that. Let me collect myself here real quick. All right, here comes the Zuma impersonation now. Hey, guys, there's a lot of fugazi going around with the Florida Mutineers organization. One of my good buddies, my friends back in the day in the Call of Duty League Slacked. He says that there's stuff going on within the Florida Mutineers roster. He doesn't like any of the guys. They treated them. They were fake. I don't know what he's talking about, how he means it to him, but I'm Italian. I'm talking to Zinni. Chicken Parm, Slacked. He's yet to meet on a challenger scene. What do you got to say about the guy Slacked? Do you think he's in the right spot to talk about the teammates after getting dropped by Florida? What do you think is going on here, Zinni? I don't know. I just think it's a whole lot of fugazi, if you ask me. I think that was a lot better. I think that Zuma impression was a little bit more spot on, but nonetheless, it's a weird situation of how all this came to fruition, that it was like Slack gets benched, dead quiet, released by Florida contract, and then it's time for him to pop off and say, listen, don't have a problem with these guys, but they were fake. I would love to hear more of the situation. For now, I digress. That's where I leave it. And I think I didn't have this in the show notes in the log, but I kind of want to break into it now that I talked about it. Teams for next year. There could be some very interesting dynamics, because what I'm thinking right now, plain and simple, is pretty much every team in the Call of Duty League will have a roster change except for the ones who are cemented. I don't think anybody is safe really, except for Atlanta FaZe and Optic Chicago. I say Atlanta FaZe because they're incredible, and then I say Optic Chicago because I know how much Hex preaches family, and this is your guys' team. If you guys are all good with each other, your homies, your buddies, this is a friendship team. It's a friendship league. You guys are all top performers. Figure it out amongst yourselves. So that's the two organizations that I could see not making roster changes, but nobody else is safe. And especially with rumors of expansion, I think there could be players shuffled all over the Call of Duty League. Like I said, the strategy for a lot of these guys, because in the offseason, there's chatter in Discords, text messages, group chats, Twitter DMs, you name it. These guys are talking to one another about, where are you teaming next year? Where are you going? Do you want a team? Do you want to play with me? We can put together a good roster. I've heard rumors that this game is playing like this. I think we'd complement each other well. So I think the way that breaks down is either teammates who have liked each other this year, whether it be rookie, veteran, rookie, veteran, they will go to each other first. They'll gravitate towards each other first. The second thing I think happens is veterans will seek each other out. Guys like Methods, Slacked, people maybe who are in challengers scene like Nato, Nagafin, Mox, people who have been in the Call of Duty League for a long time and know each other will try to gravitate towards one another and play together. I think that's pretty much a given. Apart from that, with expansion on the horizon, I hope it happens this year to make the league a little bit different. But if that occurs and organization and management are in charge of making teams, I think there's a recipe to success. I think it comes down to how I build my fantasy team every week for a draft royale. You get your high value player and you build around them. You find the all-star and you build a team around him. Okay? I think the guys who I talk about, some of them will obviously be off limits because they're not going to get dropped or traded, but you want to build a roster around Simp, Envoy. I think Standy, I think Neptune have showed up really, really big this year, and they'll be great in the future. So superstar talent, Shotzzy is another one. Those are the guys who you're looking to build a roster around. The superstar talent, you start with them, and then you ask them for your input. Who do you want to play with? Who do you think complements you? They will probably go for their duo first. So a guy like Shotzzy, who plays really ratty, does something wild like that, a good sub-duo for him could be someone like Envoy, who's a smarter player. He plays the route. He's an in-game leader. He makes shot calls. Or a guy like Havoc, who will take the sacrifice and run routes. Those are the sort of things that I can feel like would form, but it'll be very interesting to see how the roster changes happen next year. I'm not really sure what goes down. All I can say is I'm excited for it to happen. The Seattle Surge home series is already underway right now, but I'll talk to you guys about my pick'ems because I think, it's a good place to be. I think it's something that's pretty important for you guys to get my insight. And on top of that, I'm doing pretty damn good this year, and especially stage 5 in my pick'ems. I think I'm in like the top 300 in the world over all 5 stages so far. So let's pull up what the schedule is for this week. And I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not going to lie. I'll tell you what I've picked so far. Let's get my beautiful face on the screen here. Let's get into the pick'ems and let's figure it out. So what I did on day 1, I had the New York Subliners and Paris Legion. I had it going all 5 games, but I picked it wrong. I took Paris just because Clay wasn't there. New York's been struggling. I lost that one. The next one, I took Optic Chicago 3-0 over the London Royal Ravens. They have been too hot. I thought it was going to happen. It was going to happen. Next thing I picked, because those have already happened. You guys have seen them. Advancing on to Friday. And just for the record, I am recording this Friday the 23rd. If you want, I can take my watch off and show you the date, but I know you guys believe me. So Toronto Ultra, Florida Mutineers. I had this one. I either went 3-1 or 3-2, but I picked Ultra. So I know I got the right victor in this one. Then the next game, I had Dallas Empire 3-0 over the Seattle Surge. So I've only gotten one match wrong this week. Two of them, maybe three, I've gotten the perfect score. So that's pretty stellar if you ask me. Now I know these Saturday games right now, those are going to be covered by my beautiful face. So I'll go ahead and get myself off the screen, bring up gameplay only so we can look at these. This is going to be a tight matchup, Paris versus London. I think Paris is the better team. I think Scraps is playing good. Temp is playing really good. Aqua has kind of come into his role. It's too little too late for both these teams. It's just bragging rights at this point. But I'll take Paris Legion. I'll take them 3-1 or 3-2. If I had to solidify it, I'll go 3-1 Paris Legion. The next matchup is one that's going to be big. I highlight this one because I think it can get spicy, and it's big for seeding, not only in the Stage 5 Major, but also the Champs bracket. I think Mutineers have been performing really well. Minnesota Rocker, they're a sleepy team for me, a sleeper team, if you will. I think that they're a dark horse. I've said it about them all year long, even when they had accuracy on the roster all year. I think this matchup comes down to how the ARs play. I think if Priesta and Major Maniac can outperform Skies and Awakening, Minnesota win this series. I like that pick. I think this goes all five. And even though Florida, in my opinion, with Havoc are the better search and destroy team, I take the Minnesota Rocker 3-2. How's that sound? Next one, it's going to be a blowout. Optic, they've already solidified number one seed in the Stage 5 Major bracket. All they got to do is win one game, they get top three. But I think Optic smoke the LA Thieves. Game Fuel marquee matchup, not going to be too marquee. 3-0 Optic Chicago. Now we get back to the right side of the screen. I'll go ahead and put my face back on the camera. I'm working on a one-screen setup here because, as you guys know, I record the podcast off a MacBook Pro, and it's just, when I try to do dual monitors like I have in the past, I lose frames, I lag, my face is all delayed, I can't do it anymore. I want good quality for you guys, so that's why you'll see my OBS popping in and out, because I got to get the transition. Don't have hotkeys set up, but we're here. I'm just disappointed looking at this next matchup. It's just the battle of the junkers. We saw Octane with the 74U today against Empire. What are we doing? Let them play AR, for goodness sake. Gorilla's Surge, 3-2 Surge. Like, they're both really bad. And no, you know what? No, it's not going to get 5 maps. 3-1 Seattle Surge. It's just, that's just a tough matchup. Atlanta FaZe versus New York Subliners. I'm trying to get my T-Mobile free swag, but I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of time to do it because I take it 3-0 Atlanta FaZe. No Clayster, despite New York Subliners beating Paris. Like, Paris are awful. It's a team you shouldn't struggle against, and New York Subliners, with the problems they're going through, it took them all 5 maps. FaZe, smoke them, 3-0. Redemption match from losing to Optic last week. Done deal. Game Fuel marquee matchup. This one is hot. 3-2. It's going 5 maps. Guarantee it. Bookmark it. Plan on it. I think I like it going the same way that it did back in the Stage 4 Major. I will take the Dallas Empire 3-2. Those are my final predictions for the Seattle Surge home series. I'll try and put little videos, maybe TikToks. Follow me there, Zhack16, and Twitter, of my predictions when the Stage 5 Major comes up, because like I said, I'll be in Vegas. Those are the predictions for the rest of the Seattle Surge home series. That's what we're going with right now. I think I made some good picks there. I think it's a good spot. Let's get my face back on the screen here before we transition into the next segment. I know I was showing Murph earlier in my setup, so the camera got a little bit low. Forgive me for that one. But, yeah, I think those are pretty good sound predictions. That's going to round out the Barracks news and notes from around the league. Now what we got to do, it's everybody's favorite time. I'm waiting for DraftKings FanDuel Draft Buff, somebody to sponsor me. Get your mark right down there. Let me put your logo on the screen of the rotation with Zhack and sponsor me. I'm the fantasy king. I'm the Call of Duty fantasy king. You got to do it. Let's talk some buy-sell. Buy or sell Call of Duty League Fantasy. I think a couple big portions here for buy sell. These are good questions, and they're ones that I have the answer to, and I will have the correct answer. The first question that's been written in is, FaZe will be responsible for the best fantasy producer this week in the Seattle Surge home series. To many of yours surprise, I am selling this. I'll tell you why. Optic Chicago look way too hot, and in my opinion, they will have somebody on the roster who produce the best. Whether it be Scump or Dashy, those are my top two candidates, but I think Optic will have the best fantasy performer this week. They've been playing stellar. They have a layup, a softball, easy home run, spike, however many sports analogies I can give it. That's the matchups they have this week against the London Royal Ravens and LA Thieves. If the guys from Optic don't pop off, I don't know what they're doing. So quite frankly, I think they will be responsible for your highest fantasy producer. If I had to pick one player, I think I would say Scump. Second would be Dashy, and then I throw Simp and Abeezy in there. But Optic will be responsible for the top fantasy producer, so I'm selling on saying that FaZe will be. Last buy-sell topic is that Standy will be the best player in the Florida versus Minnesota series. I said this will be a tight series. It's going to be a bloodbath between these two, battling for seeding, and I am buying this. I think Standy will be the best player in the series, the best submachine gun. It's going to be him and Neptune going head-to-head, tit for tat against one another. But I think we could see Standy somewhere in the 80 to 90 range. I think he's been incredible throughout the entire season as a fantasy Call of Duty player, and I don't see him falling anytime short here. I think he does an incredible job. He works out. I'm buying that Standy is the best player in that series. Next thing we got to get to for fantasy. I know I'm rapid firing through here for you guys, but hey, quicker is better, right? Consume the content, get it over with, and get on with your lives. Next thing we got to do, CDL fantasy sleepers. Let's see some. CDL fantasy sleepers. A couple of names to highlight this week, and a few that I think can be maybe not top performers, but up there as steady role players for your team throughout the Seattle Surge home series. When you have a low budget, someone who's like, maybe they'll perform well, maybe they won't. The first guy that I'm looking at is Zaptius. I think that he may be the best player on Paris right now, and he has a grudge match against his old team in the London Royal Ravens this week. I know Paris, they had a good one against the New York Subliners, but then they have another big one upcoming. So in that matchup against NYSL, Zaptius dropped 93 in the series. How stellar is that? The kid popped off. He did incredible against NYSL. I think he can do the exact same against the London Royal Ravens. Look for him to continue his impactful weekend. I think Zaptius can end somewhere when we average the two out, 80, 90, maybe to 100. Give him that 20-point swing, 80 to 100. I think Zap can touch it. The next player I look at for a good sleeper is Kenny. Despite the matchup being tough against Optic, Kenny always shows up. He's a low budget in Draft Royale. I think he was going for like $55 this week. He's incredible. Everyone discredits Kenny. He's one of the best boots on the ground players we've ever seen. He's one of the best to do it in Call of Duty. If you have the opportunity to put Kenny on your team, I think with the compliments of Slasher and John and now how Draws has been playing, he's a good pick. I'd put him in your lineup. If you need a sleeper, need a middle to low budget guy, Kenny is your guy. The last one, and a big one that I've had highlighted, and he proved it today, is Crim6 from the Dallas Empire. He has a big matchup on Sunday against the Toronto Ultra, but also he had the first matchup today, and he absolutely went huge against the Seattle Surge. Crim6 dropped 93.6 points against Seattle. The last time Dallas played Ultra, we know what happened. It went deep, got them to the finals of the Stage 4 Major. I think Crim is one of those guys. I talked about teams finding their correct stride and hitting it strong at this point in the season. When you look at a player, Crim6 is a guy who is doing it incredibly well. Expect him to go huge, and I think that, like Lottie would say, this is a banger of a matchup on Sunday between Ultra and Empire. That's all my fantasy input for the week, and that's going to do it for the show, guys. I got to get out of here. I had a lot to do today. I already told you what my agenda was. Got to get this edited, posted on the YouTube for this, guys. I'm excited for the Stage 5 Major and what we will see. I'll give you guys my thoughts when the bracket comes out of who will come victorious Right now, spoiler alert, might be Optic, could be FaZe. I think it could be a battle between those two, Ultra and Empire. So I'm excited to see how things shape up for the Stage 5 Major. As always, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends. Zhack16 on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, The Rotation with Zhack. Hit me up on Twitter at Zhack16. Give me questions, comments. Send me rosters, pictures of your fantasy team for the week. Whatever it is, I'm very interactive on Twitter. Hit me up. As always, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in to episode 23 already of The Rotation with Zhack. Also, like I said, Meg and I will be in Vegas. Hit me up if you want me to make a bet for you. Tell me what to do. I'm going to have some fun there. Let me know if you guys are there. Maybe we can meet up. I don't know what happens. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'm blabbering on here. I'm so excited for my vacation. So excited for Call of Duty. But as always, we'll see you next time. Peace.